Yes, Todd. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this afternoon's agenda meeting where we'll review the action items which will be formally addressed next Tuesday, May 16th, which just happens to be my birthday. So I welcome you all to my birthday party next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Bring cake and refreshments.
And the fire marshal for the candles.
We'll do battery-operated candles. I'll bring the battery-operated candles. I'm going to call upon our city manager, Mr. Bill Burrow, to review those action items. Bill?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Prior to getting into your agenda for your next meeting, we do have with us Cole McCaskill with the Greater Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce and Scott Dews with the Hot Springs Metro Partnership, and they're here to deliver the this month's economic development report. So, Cole?
Thank you, City Manager. Mayor, happy birthday. Director, it's good to see you. I'm going to turn it over to Scott Dews, who is Chairman of the Partnership, Chairman of the Majestic Committee, to give you a Majestic report. Then I'll come back up and give a sort of a general economic development report.
Thank you. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Before I do, I want to welcome a few members of the Partnership and Chamber Boards. I hope I don't miss anybody. James Montgomery, B&F Engineering, former chair. Mark Curry, ABI Insurance, former chair. Mary Curry, Trademark Real Estate, former chair. Dr. Doug Ross, CEO of CHI St. Vincent, current chamber chairman. Vince Signorelli, CEO of Tanner Sports, and he is next year's chair. Brian Smith, Alliance Rubber, former chair. Franklin Bass, market president, Arvest Bank, former chair. So want to welcome all them. So since last time, we discussed in our last meeting, we had sent 12 packages out. We have not had a response on those 12. We feel like that may be an indication of the environment that we're in. Construction costs are elevated. Interest rates have more than doubled in the last 12 months. So it's told us that it may be a slower process than we initially thought, but want to assure you that the Metro Partnership, its board and its committee, the Site Development Committee, are committed to this. We want to see this through to completion. We are working hard on it and will continue to until we have a solution. We've said from the start that we want the project that is the best fit for the site, that provides maximum benefit to the community. That's still what we are looking for. We do have a sign on the property. You've probably seen that. There's a really large one as you come from Central. There's a smaller one coming down from Park. That generated a call from an individual from Dallas within the first week to Cole McCaskill. He had a productive conversation on that. So don't know where that'll lead, but there has been interest generated by the sign already. We are also working connections through our committee, through the partnership, through local community leaders here to get in front of some prominent figures that have connections to Arkansas, that have a passion for hot springs, and hopefully a willingness to develop the site. So we're working to get some face-to-face meetings with those individuals. We've had productive initial conversations about getting there, and so we're hopeful that occurs in the next month to 2 months. But that's kind of where we are on it right now, and be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Scott? Director Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for clarification, there were 12 packets that
Yes, ma'am.
was initiated by your committee and distributed out, and then you received an inquiry from someone from Dallas, and has there
That called in response to seeing the sign up.
sign?
Yes,
Has there
ma'am.
been any other inquiries or?
No, ma'am. Like I said, we haven't gotten a response from those 12, but
Right.
we've also moved on. We're going to work on following up with those 12 to see if they got them, see if there's interest. But again, there are, don't want to say a number specifically, but there are other key figures within the state and around the state that have ties to both Arkansas and Hot Springs that we're working to get meetings with, make them aware of the development, and hopefully, there's some interest there.
Right. And has that, so that list of 12, you're expanding that now, is that correct?
Well, we've moved on to different means. I think
Okay.
if our timing was different, maybe a few years ago, those packages would have been better well received. It doesn't mean that they weren't, doesn't mean there's no interest. Maybe we just haven't heard from yet. So that's
Right.
why we're going to try to follow up and see what the interest level is from those 12. But we've also expanded it. We're working, I was just talking with Vince. It's prudent to turn over every rock. And we don't want to get to the end of this and say, boy, I wish we'd have called so-and-so. And so we're working every avenue, every angle to try to get the best possible developer and development on the site. So we have expanded, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Does that include multiple developments or just one developer?
When you say multiple developments,
Like a combination, maybe a potential combination of more than one developer for the
Oh.
site, or,
not going to rule it out. We don't know how that's going to look.
Right.
We've sent it out to individual developers. I mean,
right, okay.
we've kind of envisioned it might be just one, depending on the idea. But if multiple developers want to come together on a project, then we'd certainly entertain it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
for working this.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Scott, you were sharing with Director Garcia that your intentions moving forward are to reach back out to those 12. Do you have any timeline to share with us of what that's going to look like?
We'll reach out over the next month to 2 months. It's been right at 2 months, just a little shy of 2 months that we sent those packages. And like I said, we have not had a response. So there were a handful of them that we had personal contacts with, and a couple that we were able to have initial conversations with. So we'll follow up on those. Really don't know. I don't know that you were here yet, Mr. Webb, but I told him in response to those 12, or the lack of response from those 12, I think is an indication to us of the environment that we're in. That construction costs are up, interest rates are up. You know, if you look at a 500 basis point increase on a project of even $50 million, it probably takes a project from doable to not, from a cash flowing deal to one that doesn't. And so the environment right now is not ideal. It's not what we'd have drawn up to go out in. So it's an indication to us that it may be a slower process than we initially hoped for, but we're committed to seeing this through however long it takes.
Any additional questions?
Thank you.
Hearing none, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Back to the mic, Cole McCaskill.
Thank you very much. Okay, it looks like Gary last reported to y'all at your meeting on April 4th, so I'm going to do about a 1-month recap of economic development activities. One of the largest things that happened over the last month is the Chamber hosted its annual Academic Excellence Banquet, where the Chamber honors the top 5% of all graduating seniors of all Garland County schools. It was a wonderful event. Of course, they're all offered to attend free with their families, thanks to Weyerhaeuser, who sponsors the event. We had 62 students there this year. It was a wonderful event. The partnership hosted our annual meeting and awards ceremony at National Park College in the month of April. The partnership gave out some awards to entities and individuals that made some positive economic impact on the community this year. Those award winners were Origami Saki, won the Economic Force Award. Chris Polycron and Dr. Jack Porter won the Economic Leadership Award for their work co-chairing the 4-Hour Roads Now campaign. ASMSA won the Historic Preservation Champion Award for the Helen Seelig Hall project on their campus. The Downtown Trailblazer of the Year was Wrapped Gift Boutique. The Trending Upwards Award went to Majestic Park. They've been an incredible economic generator since opening. And we gave the Chairman's Award. Last year's chairman, Todd Green, decided that the Hot Spring County Judge, Dennis Thornton, deserved our Chairman's Award this year. And we've worked with him tirelessly for the last year. And he was probably the single champion to really bring remediation to the Jones Mill industrial land in Jones Mill, where the former Reynolds aluminum plant was. It's set there, looked like a horror movie set for the last several decades. We're confident we're going to be able to attract a development or series of developments there that are going to create jobs and propel Garland County and Hot Spring County forward there. That rounded out the winners to the partnership awards. The Chamber hosted the Elected Officials Appreciation Breakfast. Many of y'all were there. That event is for y'all. We appreciate your volunteer work leading our community. We had a great crowd, probably the biggest one we've ever had. And then finally, we hosted Draft Day, which I know you've been hearing lots about from Gary for a year or more, on April 24th, 25th, and 26th. It was a 2.5-day-long event. We ended up having 1,100 students come through from 14 different schools, all juniors and seniors in high school. And we had 57 local companies that were exhibiting there and interviewing students on the spot who are getting ready to graduate. Some of which going into the workforce, some were graduating, going to college, and some of our companies are looking for summer interns as well that may be in professional degree programs. So it was a really, really wonderful event. There had been a year's worth of planning. We hosted at Lake Hamilton in the big new arena. Well, it's new since I was out there and I graduated in 2005, so it's still new to me. The alumni room, we utilized the alumni room out there for meeting space, and we couldn't thank Lake Hamilton enough, and especially the CTE coordinator out there, Amanda Porter, who we sort of merged our 11th grade career fair with what Lake Hamilton started last year in their draft day, and to make it a giant event for the region. Amanda Porter did a lot of heavy lifting and really helped out, so huge thanks to her. This past month, we've had meetings with 3 different manufacturers. We met with Cobalt Aerospace, CMT, which stands for Craft Manufacturing and Tooling. They're another aerospace manufacturer. And we also met with Fiber Pro, which manufactures timber mill equipment that is a new business that opened in the former US&R warehouse over there on East Grand, which was a big economic development project, I think about 2 or 3 years ago. We're continuing to get Gary Jackson, who's the new workforce director on our team, connected with the major industries in our area, the major employers, so that he can understand what skills they need. So when he's communicating with schools and trying to realign the workforce and the skills that are being taught in the schools, so that they better serve the employers in the area. Of course, he's a 35-year veteran of the school system. He knows schools extremely well, and we're just bringing him up to speed on what type of industry we have and what sort of skills are needed here. So those are ongoing meetings that we're having. We're going to get in all of our major manufacturers probably before the end of this year with Gary, so that he really has a great picture of that. Over the last month, I had a call with an out-of-state commercial realtor who's looking to bring a new restaurant to town, which sounds promising. I had a call with a Dallas-based developer who was in Hot Springs looking for a location for a new retailer. I met with a downtown potential investor over a new piece of real estate that was just listed. I talked with the State Economic Development Commission about a brand new industrial listing in our community, and I submitted that new real estate listing to a site consultant who sent out an RFP looking for space for a manufacturing project. Gary met with one of Congressman Westerman's staffers about an issue at the Army-Navy Hospital. Gary also attended the Workforce Development Board meeting. Gary Jackson and Vince Signorelli attended the week-long basic economic development training course in Little Rock, which happens once a year. Very much appreciate Vince's volunteering of his time for a whole week to go and do that to prepare for him to be chairman of the partnership board next year. Hertz Donuts, it was announced they're coming downtown to 200 Spring Street. I've had several conversations with them this month, and I've been working with them for almost a year, in fact. They've been really wanting to get downtown. Gary Jackson and/or Gary Troutman attended the signing days at Cutter Morningstar High School, Lake Hamilton High School, and Hot Springs High School. The signing days is where the kids get to be a little proud that they're signing to go to college, or they're signing to go to a trade school, they're signing to go directly into the workforce, or where some kids signing to go that had a job, which we think is really great. We're starting to help celebrate that. Let's see, Gary and some of the chamber staff were at a regional chamber conference last week. Gary's not here today because he's at the Southeastern Economic Development Council meeting going on right now. And then coming up this evening, our own Gary Jackson is the guest speaker at the Lake Hamilton High School CTE Completer Ceremony. That's an awards banquet where they celebrate the kids that went through the CTE program and received some kind of completion certificate. So he's going to go out there and fire them up tonight. Later this week on Thursday, Business After Hours is being hosted at National Park Medical Center at the Hart Center. And then next week, the Chamber is bringing back Flavor of the Park for the first time since COVID. It's been 4 years since Flavor happened. It's going to be Thursday the 18th downtown at the Exchange Street parking deck. We've got 20-some vendors. I believe it's $20. Once you get in, it's all you can eat. It's a good time. Let's see. Gary, do you want me to address, there was the newspaper article about the ground lease on the Passport Center and the marketing of the additional 80 acres on that site. And so this is the first time that we've been in front of you since we read that article. Let's see, a little history on the Passport Center. The partnership developed that building around 2004, I believe. This was generations of leadership before Gary or I or most of our board members were involved. But I think it was around 2004 where we decided to build that spec building and then market it to attract a company to come fill it and create some jobs here. I believe it was, the marketing process lasted about 3 years. I think it was around 2007 when we ultimately recruited CGI, which is the formal name of the company that fulfills the Passport Center, or fulfills passports. There's a similar center in Tucson, Arizona, and the one here, there's only 2 in the country. I think it's highly regarded as a successful project in Hot Springs. We do a survey of the largest employers in Hot Springs every year, and this year they reported they had 180 employees. And so I know they pay better than average wages, so the economic impact of the employees that operate there at the Passport Center is great. Gary wanted me to mention, of course, we pay about $29,000, a little more than $29,000 in a ground lease on that property, and you guys give us about $100,000 a year for economic development services. So really, the net benefit to the partnership is really only about $70,000. So he did want me to note that. And then as far as the marketing of the 80 acres adjacent to the Passport Center, we are actively involved in marketing that and have been. I've been at the partnership for 10 years. We've been marketing that land the whole time I've been there. I have talked to that. I've talked to some investors about that property over the last few years. Every time they find out they can't buy the property, they're really not interested. You know, in recent years, most investors and developers are interested in owning their land. I think real estate is a great hedge against inflation, and we're obviously seeing incredible inflationary environment right now. So most developers are interested in owning land. I do cover the ground lease portion with them, and most of them are not interested in paying a market rate ground lease to develop a property when they can buy, similar land. I understand that it was marketed as the tech park in the early 2000s, maybe when access to internet probably wasn't as good as it is now. Thankfully, we have great access to internet now, broadband, high-speed internet in all the commercial zones in Hot Springs and Garland County. And so, that really makes all the land in Hot Springs and Garland County more marketable, more available for development. And so really that's kind of, those are my thoughts on the marketing of the 80 acres there at the tech park. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions. That's the end of my month-long report. Appreciate the time and being able to give the report.
Any questions of Cole? Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. In the technology park, how many prospects have there been in the past few years?
Not a whole lot. I failed to mention also there is a sign in the tech park that has our name and phone number on it. I don't have an exact number. I can get you an exact number, but I don't. Just approximately, I'd say maybe 5 per year, just to guess. It's not a whole lot.
And in the marketing that is being directed from y'all, or are those inquiries just from the sign or knowing about it, or do you send out to potential prospects to try to get them here?
Any and all, it's a lot of what we deal with is heavy industrial manufacturing. That's probably not the best use of that property, being more of a tech park. So when somebody's interested in more of a newer office space, we do get some questions about very, Class A, some really nice, somebody developing some real nice new office space. We include it as part of that. Kind of a request for information, and we send back, different listings of local pieces of real estate that could be developed for that type of thing. We do get some calls off of the sign that are not just looky-loos. They're pretty serious. They're pretty serious about that as well.
But none of the aerospace companies you mentioned have any interest?
No, ma'am.
And the biggest barrier is the ground lease, is that what you're saying?
I would say the biggest barrier is just not being able to buy the real estate. Most developers or most investors, if the company wants to own their own real estate or own the land, they want to own the land and not lease it. You know, if they were leasing it for an incentivized rate, you know, maybe for 50 years or 100 years, it might be a different story. But if it's going to be a market rate lease, you know, you have to realize that just the regular business factors are going to say, you know, I could go and buy a piece of land and it's going to be an investment that they can then sell, you know, several decades down the road, and it'd be a good investment for them as opposed to to paying market rate ground lease.
Thank you for the update.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Any further questions of Cole? Thank you.
Appreciate the time.
Bill?
Thank you, Mayor. We'll move into your consent agenda for that, for the meeting on May the 16th. Your first item is Resolution R2396, a resolution acknowledging receipt of the City of Hot Springs financial statements for March 2023, and our Finance Director, Karen Scott, will present.
Good afternoon. As you all know, monthly financial statements are issued to keep city management and constituents apprised of the financial condition of the City of Hot Springs. The March 2023 financial statements will be included as an attachment to your packet. Staff will recommend that you acknowledge receipt of the March 2023 financial statements. Also, Mayor, at that board meeting next week, I'll give a review of the position of the major funds through the first quarter through March 31st, and discuss any trends compared to last year and highlight any large changes year over year.
Very good. Any questions of Karen? Thank you. Look forward to next week.
Next item is Resolution R2397, a resolution awarding a bid to Doggett Freightliner of Arkansas LLC for a sewer pump truck in the amount of $232,548, and our Utilities Director, Monty Ledbetter, is here to present.
Thank you, Mr. Burris. Staff is recommending awarding a bid to Freightliner for an M2 106 sewer pump truck to Doggett Freightliner of Arkansas in North Little Rock. This is to replace unit number 8849 in our sewer lift division. It's a 2007 International pumper truck. We want to replace this due to age and dependability and cost of needed repairs. As you can imagine, in our sewer lift pump station section, this truck's needed to help haul the solids from sewer lift stations. As you know, we have around 3,700 grinder stations and about 88 major lift stations, and it's crucial that these trucks are dependable. Currently, we have about over 9,000 hours on this particular truck, 98,000 miles on it. It's 16 years old. We did advertise and post this on the city's website and in the purchasing office. We received the one bid from Doggett, and that was for $232,548. And we did budget for this in this year's CIP funds.
Any questions of Monty?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your next item is Resolution R2398, a resolution applying for and accepting a grant with the State of Arkansas National Highway Safety and Administration for eligible expenses for DWI District Court, and our Court Administrator, Chris Burrow, is here to present that item.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This is to request to apply and to accept the grant from the State Highway for our DWI program. This is a matched program that our file clerk is the match funds to this. This is with the match funds, 80,000, but 40 is what we request the grant that pays for drug screens. It pays for national travel for our team to go to for state. It also pays for like our DWI waivers and certain things in court, so it pays for some office material stuff for forecourt. We also use it if we have a defendant that can test a drug screen. We have money built in that to send it off for confirmation if requested. That's kind of This grant has been, what District Court has had since 2009, 2010, when it was first applied for, and so we've had it every year since then. So I think this is going on.
Any questions of Chris? Thank you.
Yes, appreciate it.
Next item is Resolution R 2399, a resolution approving a change order to the contract with Coakley Company, Inc. for the 2022 Waterline Improvement Project in the amount of $270,248. And Mayor, this may be one that we want to move to new business that night, if it's with pleasure of the board.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Sorry, Project Engineer Todd Pillar's here to present, but we will move that
I
over.
wasn't sure where you were finishing.
Be here next week if you're going to be on new business.
Yeah, I heard that. Okay, yeah, this is a change order to Coakley Company, who's currently under construction with our 2022 water lines. And this project was designed by Hanson McLaughlin for our 2023 water lines. But when we, staff, reviewed the paving program that you approved for 2023, it was very evident that Lakeland was a crucial one on the list. So we pushed this one up as a change order with Coakley's 22 water line improvements. And the project goes from Central Avenue down to Yorkshire Drive. I think the paving is going to go a lot further than that, but we're just going to get that section of 12-inch line done before they come in and pave. And with pipe deliveries and Coakley needing 51 days to complete the construction once the pipe gets here, we need to do this as a change order quickly, and that'll give the paving program time to finish Lakeland by the end of the year. And this will come out of the board-approved 2023 water distribution funds.
Any questions of Todd?
I
Director
agree
Garcia?
with the city manager to move this to new business.
Yeah. Okay, we're all good with that. That'll be the first item under new business, so we'll have 4 items on the consent and 4 items on new business. So, any further questions of Todd? Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we have Resolution 23-100, a resolution authorizing a lease agreement between the City of Hot Springs and Sky Tours Hot Springs LLC. And I believe Don Rollett, our airport director, is going to present this item. I do have one question on this one. Is that going to be Sky Tours Hot Springs or just Sky Tours? I know we had some questions on
Sky
that.
Tours LLC will be the tenant. I'm sorry, Sky Tours Hot Springs LLC will be the tenant.
Very good. Don?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, directors. This is a resolution authorizing a lease agreement between the city and the Sky Tours Hot Springs LLC. They are a commercial helicopter operation, flying tours around the area, over the lakes and so forth. And the resolution, the lease, they're requesting terminal space. It's about 100 square feet inside the terminal to set up a table to start with, and then eventually they'll have a booth set up. And also the lease of a portion of the ramp for their operation. So it'll be a 82 feet by 82 feet area, which encompasses their safety area for their rotor operations. What they would be doing is processing their personnel, their customers through the terminal, and then exiting out and then to the ramp to get onto the aircraft. They have company personnel that will be there to escort them from the terminal to the aircraft. The total rent on this for annual is $7,262. That's for the 100 square feet in the terminal and 0.15 acres on the ramp. Under the lease agreement that we have drafted, there were some concerns about flight over the national park and some other areas. In the lease agreement, we put in there under number 20 some lawful purpose. They'll have to operate between, for the FAA Part 91, which is a regulation for that, as well as the Public Law 106-181, which is the overflight of the national park, which they have not got the authorization for that yet. And they will indicate that they will not operate until that is secured. And then lastly is a provision for overflight of the Oakland racetrack. That overflight would be prohibited. And as far as the meeting next week, the personnel for the company will be available for questions.
Any questions of Don? Director Garcia?
I have a question for the city attorney. Has this been reviewed by you?
It has and been modified accordingly.
And does it require insurance?
Oh, yes.
In case that there's any damage to the airport
Yes, ma'am.
property? Thank you. And all of the agreement and everything will be in our packet, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Any
you.
additional questions?
Is he local representative? Will he be here regardless of whether this stays on consent or gets moved?
Yes, I've told him that at least one of them need to be here.
Thank you.
You said the ground lease was 1 acre or 1.5 acres? Is that a
.15
.15? Okay.
It's just a portion of the
Yeah.
ramp adjacent to the fence. It's
Okay.
82 feet by 82 feet.
Yeah. Very good.
Did you think it needed to be on new business, city attorney?
No, ma'am, I just knew that there were questions about this early on in the process, and so whatever the board's pleasure is.
It's fine for me to be on the new business.
Seems fairly straightforward, though. I mean,
Well, there were advertisements for this business previously that did open and have tours over downtown in West Mountain.
it's a pleasure of the board to move this to new business.
Second,
We certainly, pardon?
are we voting to,
voting.
You're
It's not so
actually
much
not
a
voting
vote.
on anything. We're trying to set the agenda. The mayor is requesting your input on the establishment of the agenda.
well, I would like for it to be moved over to new business.
That's fine, we got 2. So now we have 3 items on consent and 5 items on new business. Any further questions? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have what was your first, but now will be your third item of new business, Resolution R-23-101, a resolution authorizing the filing and acceptance of a 2023 Arkansas Outdoor Recreation Grant to support Phase 2 of Velocity Park, and our Parks and Trails Director, Anthony Whittington, is here to discuss this item. Anthony?
Thank you, Bill, members of the board. In April of '23, the Arkansas Department of Parks and Heritage and Tourism announced they would be accepting applications for the Arkansas Outdoor Recreation Grant with a due date of August 25th. This grant gives funding the city an opportunity to construct Phase 2 of Velocity Park. With the construction of this phase, Velocity Park at 325 Valley Street would be complete. If you drive by there right now, Phase 1 is about 90% complete. The asphalt portion is complete. We're just finishing up the asphalt in the natural surface loop and doing some parking lot paving and some sod work. So we're anticipating a summer dedication for that phase. The Arkansas ORG grant program is 50% funded, which requires a 50% match. It's estimated that Phase 2 of Velocity Park will require a grant award of $250,000. The city match will equal $250,000 for a total project of $500,000. These match funds are identified from the Parks and Trails grant match account in the 2023 budget.
Any questions of Anthony on this item, Velocity Park?
If there's no heartburn, could we move it to new business? Could we trade?
It is new business.
I mean to consent. I'm
To
sorry,
consent. This is a big deal for us to continue to promote and expand, so keeping on new business adds a little bit of info. So are you seeing much activity out there?
Oh, yes. It's technically not open yet, and there's if I put signs up, they would definitely show up. But yeah, on the weekends, there's definitely a lot of activity on the asphalt portion and a lot of excitement from the cycling community, especially from the youth cycling, the NICA groups and things. They're excited to practice their skills, take it to Northwoods, the real world, scenarios and stuff. But
Application.
a lot of excitement, and Valley Street's becoming an outdoor recreation corridor. With the skate park, with Velocity, with the Greenway, with Majestic, it's becoming an attraction in town. So it's
Very nice.
We've got a storm drain that should be complete pretty quick, and we'll be developing and building the parking lot adjacent to Velocity Park. But we've got that storm drain that we're working on right now. But as soon as it's complete, we'll come back in and put the parking lot in.
I have a 40-space parking lot and sod work and finish the trail, and we'll be good for phase one.
So, is there a expected time frame for the official opening of Velocity Park?
I'm predicting early summer, probably late June, early July is what I'm predicting for. And as soon as we get the storm drain repaired and get the paving done, it'll that's what's preventing us from finishing their outer perimeter loop. Is right where they're working on that storm drain is preventing us from putting the wood and metal features down and putting our city pit down and stuff. So,
Denny, what's our estimated time on that? About 2 weeks.
So it'll come together quickly. So
Yeah, it's a big drain.
yeah.
All right, well, when you officially open, let us know
Oh,
so we
absolutely.
don't get in trouble.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Resolution R-23-102, a resolution authorizing salary adjustments and a residency incentive for all sworn police officers of the Hot Springs Police Department, and create signing bonuses for certified and non-certified applicants, approving a budget amendment and for other purposes. And our chief, Bill Harverton, is here to present.
Thank you, sir. Members of the board, I come before you this evening asking you to approve this resolution authorizing a pay raise package and incentives for sworn personnel of the Hot Springs Police Department. The proposal consists of a 12.5% adjustment to all salaries, a residency incentive of $2,600 annually, and recruiting incentives by way of signing bonuses of $5,000 for non-certified officers and $10,000 for certified officers. As I expressed to you all in a previous meeting, we're at critical levels in America in the way of hiring, recruiting, and retention of law enforcement personnel. Retirements have been reportedly increased by 45% and resignations by 20%. Almost 80% of agencies polled in a recent survey reported they are having difficulty in both recruiting and hiring. Our eligibility hiring list dropped from an average of 30 between 2004 and 2010 to an average of 7 in the most recent 6 eligibility lists. And we have found our agency in a constant state of recruiting, hiring, and training of new officers, when that was once something that we did in the fall of the year. In fact, our last hiring list did not produce enough qualified applicants to fill all of our vacancies, and we immediately went back into another recruiting and hiring cycle, only to find ourselves in a low turnout of applicants once again. Over the last year, we've seen many other agencies across the state increase salaries, incentives, and recruiting benefits in order to offset these same issues. And as a consequence of that, the Hot Springs Police Department has found itself being outpaced by these other agencies in the way of salaries. The salary comparison spreadsheet I will provide to you in your package gives some insight on what some of these agencies are offering. As you will see, there are many offering $50,000 or more starting salary and benefit packages as good or better than ours, while we are offering $44,492. In fact, just this morning, I saw this social media posting by Benton PD, who has also increased their starting salary from $44,326 to $51,000. As I expressed to you previously, HSPD is being heavily recruited by a state agency. At the time we last spoke, I advised you that I knew of at least 4 of our officers that had applied with them. That number is now at least 5, with one of those officers being a 15-year veteran detective of our agency. Those are the only officers that I'm sure of, and the odds are that there are a few more that I'm not aware of. We cannot afford to lose our officers, much less our veterans, to other agencies based merely on salary and incentives. And we also cannot afford to find ourselves trying to replace 10 or 12 additional officers in any one given year, as it will exhaust our already overstressed resources. I feel if we do not make change now, we may very well find ourselves in that position. Furthermore, we need to get to the point that we have a working hiring list that we pull from for the entire year and not a constant state of recruiting, background checks, and hiring based upon low number of applicants. I feel this salary and incentive package will help us achieve that. I also feel that it will entice at least some of our officers that are considering a move to stay and complete their careers with Hot Springs. You've heard me state before that Hot Springs is considered one of the best agencies in the state, and that is wholeheartedly the truth. We are very discerning in who we hire, we train them very well, and we set high expectations for them and their service to this community. They are willing to put their lives on the line each and every day for people they've never met. They knew that they would not become independently wealthy in this line of work, but they deserve a fair compensation and one that is similar to comparable agencies in the state. In your packet, I will provide you with a proposed new 2023 pay scale that represents a 12.5% salary adjustment for all positions and steps. It would raise our starting salary to $50,053. The fiscal impact of that adjustment would be $624,351 for the remainder of 2023 if it were to become effective on the proposed date of June the 10th. During our work session, it was proposed by a member of the board, and others expressed interest as well, in a residency bonus of $5,000. I fully understand the reasoning for this is to have more officers reside within our city limits, which will make our officers more visible to our citizens and likely to deter crime within our neighborhoods. I put much consideration into that and considered a few different options. I feel a stipend of $100 per pay period, or $2,600 annually, is the most beneficial to all. This gives officers a monetary benefit that will likely have them consider housing options within the city over similar options in the county, particularly when purchasing a new home. The cost of that is $52,500 for the remainder of the 2023 year, plus retirement match and Medicare of $13,419 and $761 respectively, based upon the number of officers that currently reside in the city, which is 35. By way of the stipend, the city can spread the cost out over the entire year as opposed to paying a lump sum of $175,000 in the way of a one-time $5,000 bonus. Furthermore, a stipend would give an officer more incentive to keep their residency in the city long-term, knowing that if they move outside the city, they would immediately lose that income. During our previous discussion, it was proposed that we add a general sign-on bonus of $5,000 for all newly hired certified officers to go along with the $10,000 bonus for certified officers that I had proposed. I project the overall cost of the bonuses annually to be $70,000 to $80,000 based upon the average number of officers hired in the last 3.5 years. However, we do currently have 4 openings, and we will have a new eligibility hiring list from the Civil Service Commission prior to the proposed June 10th implementation date. For that reason, I make the proposal that these bonuses be effective immediately for any current applicant. This will create fairness and consistency, and also give applicants that may have job applications out with multiple agencies more incentive to choose Hot Springs. In conclusion, the total fiscal impact of this proposal for the remainder of 2023 will be $726,529, or $1.26 million annually. We understand that this is a substantial amount of money to ask for, but please understand that there is more ask of law enforcement in this current era than ever before. The job is more complicated, more stressful, more dangerous, and the expectations are greater than ever. Our officers make sacrifices to protect our community, to include working nights, weekends, holidays, attending court on their days off, missing events, birthdays, ball games, and etc., and they do not complain. They understand they are still the line between good and evil, and that our community needs their best efforts. In order to ensure that we recruit, hire, and retain the best our region has to offer, I feel we must offer the best pay and benefits we can in order to stay competitive. I respectfully request that the board pass this resolution authorizing the proposed 2023 pay scale with a 12.5% adjustment, the addition of a $2,600 residency incentive, and a bonus of $5,000 and $10,000 respectively for certified and non-certified officers. Thank you.
Any questions of Chief Harverton? Any questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate your report.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next, your final item is Resolution R23-103, a resolution approving Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, fiscal year 2023, annual action plan, and authorizing submission of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for projects listed in that action plan. And our Planning and Development Director, Ms. Kathy Selman, is here to discuss this item.
Thank you. The City of Hot Springs was designated as a community development block grant entitlement community by HUD in July of 2003. And one requirement of that entitlement is to submit an annual action plan to HUD describing projects to be undertaken and how funds will be expended. The Community Development Advisory Committee, CDAC, considered all of the applications that were submitted this year for potential funding, and they recommended a prioritized list of eligible applications to the board, and the board took action on that list last month, accepting it as it was presented. At their duly advertised meeting on May 4th, 2023, CDAC considered a fiscal year 2023 annual action plan, and having a quorum voted unanimously 4-0 to recommend the Hot Springs Board of Directors approve that plan as submitted. HUD requires that an approved fiscal 2023 annual action plan must be submitted by May 17th, which is a week from tomorrow. HUD allocates 45 days for their review, and their review of the annual action plan listing really is not a guarantee that the project will take place. The project must pass through an environmental review project, and the severity of that scrutiny is determined by the nature of each project. Construction projects, projects dealing with single-family housing construction, projects that affect historical or cultural properties, or affecting sites with cultural significance to tribal nations, projects located in or near floodplains, critical wetland habitats, airports, and those projects with extraordinary potential environmental impacts must undergo levels of review that have the potential to delay or cancel the implementation of a project. Typically, project timelines are not severely disrupted by the environmental review process. This is a factor that's out of the control of CDBG and of the city, and it's completely reliant on the nature of each project and the potential environmental impacts. As available application requests exceed the funds that are available by nearly $30,000, CDAC, by their 4-0 vote, is recommending that the board fund projects number 1 through 8, there are 9, in the recommended priority order up to the amount available. Projects in excess of that available amount will be placed on hold for reconsideration should additional funding become available during fiscal 2023. The projects that are recommended for funding in priority order are 2023 CDBG Planning and Administration, Habitat for Humanity infrastructure improvements at Crescent and Lafayette Streets, Habitat for Humanity infrastructure improvements at Gaines and Mayflower Streets, spa area independent living services, bathroom renovations, Light Uptown, a project of Park Avenue Community Association and the City of Hot Springs, Rapid Flashing Beacon at Silver and Crescent Streets, John Lee Webb House, interior rehabilitation, Morrison Street sidewalks from Cherokee to Central, and that is project number 8. Those are the projects that are required for funding at 100% of the amount requested. Project number 9 is the Malvern Avenue Church Street versatile parking area. This is a project for which partial funding would be available. However, should project funding or additional funding become available during fiscal 2023, it is possible that that project could be funded in full as well.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Director Beard?
For the 9th project, what would have to happen for there to like money to become available for that?
There are a number of ways money can become available. Occasionally, additional money is awarded by HUD for some special reason. We had quite a bit of funding that became available as a result of COVID. We're not anticipating anything like that. However, should a project above number 9 fall off the list for some reason, and environmental is usually a reason that we see that happen, it could be that funding would become available because another project would not be done.
Or you have money left over from the prior year.
Oh, we have money left over from a prior year, yes.
Okay, and so the number, I know you said this, but the number 9 is the only one that's not getting fully funded?
At this time, yes.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of Ms. Selman? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
I believe this concludes our action items, which will be formally addressed next Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock right here at City Hall and Board Chambers. So thank you all for joining us this afternoon. We will have a work session here shortly, so let us transition to that, and we'll begin shortly.